The world is changed.
I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air. Much that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it.
It began with the forging of the great... Nah, I'm just kidding. This video is brought to you by Instant Gaming. Plain and simple, you're looking for PC games, you're looking for Xbox, you're looking for PlayStation. You come here, find what you're looking for, find it at a cheaper than retail price, purchase it, get your game key, redeem it on Steam, and you're ready to play. They've got a vast catalog of all the hottest titles, even discounts on some that haven't even been released yet. You can get huge discounts on bundles like the Kingdom Hearts Integra Masterpiece, which is a $61 price point for Kingdom Hearts 1.5, 2.5 Remix, 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue, and Kingdom Hearts 3 Plus Remind DLC. All for the price of $61.18. You can get a month of Game Pass Ultimate, not regular, the Ultimate, valued at about $15-16 bucks, and you can get it for $6.97 here, no questions asked. You can even get notified by email when upcoming pre-orders are going to become available, although for me I need to wait for the North American version of this. This is going to be one of the games I collect for my son's Nintendo Switch catalog. Instant Gaming. Your game, your price, your instant. Just do it. Also, they partnered with me to host a giveaway where you can win the opportunity to pick out a game of your choosing. Make sure to check out that link and my affiliate link in the description below. Now back to the video. Well. There and back again. 3 years ago, back in April of 2021, I made a video talking about how Amazon had cancelled its Lord of the Rings MMORPG, which was initially being spearheaded by Amazon Game Studios, and the project was also being worked on by the Layu-owned Athlon Games back in 2019. It was planned to be a free-to-play game for PC and console. Fast forward to last year, almost 2 years after its cancellation, and we get an update that Amazon Games has struck a new deal with Embracer Group's Middle-earth Enterprise for the new Lord of the Rings MMO. Now, Amazon has been going through some highs and lows for a while. I think they struck a lot of success by taking Lost Ark under their wing. I personally didn't play a lot of it at launch. I played a lot of it in the Korean servers and the Japanese servers. And personally, it wasn't my type of MMORPG. I don't really like it when games focus too heavily on having alt characters. I know in the vast majority you benefit off of having them, but I like to keep things stuck to one character. We've also had some lows with Amazon Game Studios. Blue Protocol seems to be delayed indefinitely at the moment. I haven't really kept up with it that much. We've also got Throne and Liberty coming out very soon, in fact, and it's published by Amazon Game Studios. However, it's another case where it's not really my type of game. I feel like I played it 3 times over, starting with Bless Online. And sometimes with games, I just get a feeling that I'm not going to enjoy it for one reason or another. And right now, that feeling's been kicking in. So I wish that game the best. I wish the company the best. I know that there's been reasons to be upset with Amazon Games, reason to be happy with Amazon Games, but the truth of the matter is we don't have a lot of good, let alone halfway decent publishers when it comes to MMORPGs in the West. And I think in comparison to the ones that we do have, Amazon is considered one of the best in my book. Now, real quick before I dive back into the Lord of the Rings MMORPG, I did want to address the New World Aeternum situation that's going on and New World coming to console. I think the company's learned a lot in their time starting New World, and I hope that they bring that knowledge over to the Lord of the Rings MMO. But unfortunately, I would say after the closed beta, the game was just doomed to fail. There was such a big emphasis on instance content and being able to play solo, and the focus shifted towards solo play or playing in small groups, even to the point to where it seemed like they were actively going out of their way to make sure that open world content and playing in large groups was not as enjoyable or nearly efficient as playing in small parties. I could go on for hours about changes that I really hated that they made during the alphas, the betas, when it came to the way how experience was distributed between your party when you killed a mob, how gold gain when killing mobs was nerfed into the ground, how doing those big field boss and chess runs were no longer as viable past a certain point because of the changes they made. There was a lot, and ultimately I think it was to cater towards the World of Warcraft players that were coming over at the time and had their eyes on the game. But overall, yeah, the game just turned into something I could no longer enjoy, and by the end of it, with over like 2,000-3,000 hours, however much I had, I could barely recognize it anymore. But what I'm hoping this New World Aeternum and console pivot means is that they're able to take more resources and start allocating it into the Lord of the Rings MMORPG that they are currently working on. They've done this before. I think there was at least 1 or 2 games, I know one of them was Crucible, that they were working on in addition to New World, but they decided to close that part of the studio and then brought those people over to these other teams like New Worlds to work on these games. So I'm hoping they do the same with this one. Now I will say that I'm sad that the Lord of the Rings MMORPG isn't going to be set in the first or second age, and I have to say that even just the first age alone would be an incredible experience. Although to be fair, even the first age by itself, our computers probably wouldn't be able to handle the War of the Wrath. So I can kind of see why they didn't decide for that to be the age that the game was based in, but still, it would have been nice. The game's going to be based in the Third Age, featuring stories from The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. They said in the 2023 announcement that bringing players a fresh take on the Lord of the Rings has long been an aspiration for their team, and they're honored and grateful that Middle-earth Enterprises is entrusting them with this iconic world. Now, there was a more recent article published about 2 days ago, which I am going to go into, but first I want to say that I'm sure it's no secret that the handling of the Rings of Power has kind of left people a little skeptical on how this upcoming MMORPG is going to turn out. The Rings of Power on Season 1 left a lot to be desired. I myself was trying to give it a chance, and normally I can enjoy a lot of stuff that people hate. There were definitely parts that even I couldn't get past how silly they were. I'm hoping the fact that these are separate subsidiaries, at least I'm pretty sure, Amazon Games and whoever handled Rings of Power under the Amazon team, they're different, so we shouldn't exactly be dealing with the same scenario here. And then hopefully Amazon Games can take everything they've learned over the past 4 to 5 years and implement it into this game with this amazing backstory that they have to use. They have a world on the string with this one. All they have to do is not F it up. I think some of the things they should really focus on in contrast to the New World MMORPG is making sure that open world content takes precedent. I think dungeons, there's always a time and place for them. They can be great, but heavily investing into dungeons, if they're not like top tier content, because some games can get away with that, it's just, in my opinion, more detrimental to your game because that stuff could get old very fast, especially after the second time you do the dungeon. So I'd say open world content for sure. I would hope to see the New World crafting system in that game, because that is one part I will say. The life skilling system in New World was always one of my top favorites across any games. And please, for the love of God, don't just leave us with like one PvP battleground for years on end. I don't even know if they added another one after Outpost Rush. I'm guessing they didn't. But please make sure there's at least 2 to 3. 3 to 4 just to be safe. When it comes to the open world PvP, I mean, who knows? You could do the flagging system again. I think once everything was said and done, people didn't care about it as much. Like, it didn't seem to be such a huge point of contention as like the lack of content. But either way, the story, that's a very crucial one, especially when you're dealing with Lord of the Rings, because you're going to have a lot of people that are coming into this game expecting you to do the story right, especially because the backstory is already laid out. All you have to do is follow it. If you start going too far off the beaten trail like Rings of Power kind of does, then you're probably going to have yourself a problem in that department. And not just story to pull from, but you've got like world bosses, field bosses, all this different content that you can just pluck out of the Lord of the Rings universe and implement into your game. I don't remember if it's still the case and it doesn't get mentioned in this article, but at one point I remember hearing that the Lord of the Rings MMO was being made of the same engine as New World was. So as far as the combat goes, which would be another important one, they've got a decent baseline, but there can definitely be some tweaks and improvements made. And they're going to have to figure out this time around what they're going to do when it comes to the stagger system, because oh my goodness, was that a huge topic of debate for the longest time. I myself still stand by the combat when it had stagger. I loved it. So the article I was talking about was actually referencing an original one posted on Variety.com, and it was an interview with Amazon Games Vice President Christoph Hartmann, and it featured a quick quote about the Lord of the Rings MMORPG, but the question was, what can you tell me about when we'll hear more about the new Tomb Raider, because they are publishing a new Tomb Raider game as well, and the Lord of the Rings games, and when will those titles be released? His response to this is that it's not going to be tomorrow, but it's not too far away. As he said, we're getting into a much more regular cadence of shipping games, and that's all that he's allowed to say right now. You don't want to just be rushed out. That doesn't work. It has to be AAA quality because the bar is so high. Which is absolutely right. I mean, people are going to be expecting a lot from this game. You've already got the pre-standing Lord of the Rings MMORPG that's already released, so you have to be at least better than that. Then you've got the backstory itself, which is so much backstory to go off of. The only way you can mess it up is by going off of the beaten trail. But in addition to that, combat has to be good, the progression system has to be worthwhile, monetization especially is very crucial. However, I will give credit where credit is due. New World did an amazing job when it came to the monetization system. They never went back on the idea that the game would only be buy to play and have a cash shop. There were expansions, and I can't remember if they ever did a battle pass. I don't fully remember. I haven't played it in such a long time, but overall, from what I've heard, the New World monetization system has always been more of a positive point about the game, if nothing else. But overall, that's my thoughts on the situation, and I'll link the article in the description below. Let me know what you thought about this information, and special thanks again to this video's sponsor, Instant Gaming. Make sure to check out my link in the description below and the giveaway. I'll catch you next time, folks. Have a good one.